Right now, without thinking about it, you just took a breath. Air filled your lungs, your blood grabbed the oxygen, and you didn't even notice. You do it 20,000 times a day, and the planet hands you every single one for free. Now imagine that same breath, 384,000 kilometers from here. You are standing on the surface of the moon, and you are not wearing a suit. You open your mouth to breathe in. There is nothing to breathe, no air, no pressure, no second chance. The moon is already killing you, and you have about 15 seconds to understand why. Forget what movies told you. You will not explode. The truth is stranger, and it comes for you in stages. So before you ever dream of going, let's walk through the 6 things up there that want you dead. Start with the most obvious killer. The moon has no atmosphere at all. No air, no clouds, no sky, just hard black space pressing down to the ground. On Earth, the air pushes on every part of you with a constant, gentle pressure. You never feel it, because it's always there. Step onto the moon without a suit, and that pressure vanishes in an instant. Here is what does not happen. Your body does not burst. Your blood does not boil away. That's a myth. Here is what does happen. With no pressure holding them in, the liquids on the wet parts of your body start to bubble. Scientists call it ebullism. At body temperature with no pressure, the water on your tongue literally turns to vapor. Now some of you think this is just sci-fi exaggeration. It is not. We know it's real because in 1966 it nearly happened to a man inside a NASA vacuum chamber. His suit lost pressure in seconds. He stayed awake about 14, and the last thing he felt was the spit on his tongue starting to bubble. His name was Jim. A routine test became proof of how fast the void works. His colleagues slammed the chamber back to full pressure just in time. He woke up with a sore ear and a story. On the moon, there would be no one to slam the pressure back. You stay conscious for roughly 15 seconds. After that, you black out. A minute or two later, with no air reaching your brain, it is over. And believe it or not, suffocating is the gentle option, because the temperature out here is even more violent. On the moon, a single day is not 24 hours. It is about 29.5 Earth days. That means roughly 2 weeks of non-stop daylight, followed by 2 weeks of unbroken night. Think about waiting through 14 days of sunshine that never sets, with nowhere shady to hide. During that long day, the surface bakes to 127 degrees Celsius. That is hotter than the oven you bake a pizza in. The dust under your boots could cook food. No breeze, no shade, no cool drink, just 2 more weeks of that same relentless sun. Then the sun sets, and with no atmosphere to hold any warmth, the heat escapes straight into space. Within hours, the surface plunges to minus 173 degrees Celsius, colder than anything that has ever happened on Earth. Colder than the deepest winter you could ever imagine. Your suit's heaters would fight it, but the cold creeps into every joint and seal, looking for a way in. And here is the part that breaks your brain. With no air to spread the heat around, both can happen to you at the same time. Stand with 1 foot in sunlight and 1 in shadow, and you could be cooking and freezing across a single body. On Earth, air carries heat from the hot side to the cold side. The moon has no air to do that, so nothing balances out. If the heat doesn't get you, the sky will. And the danger from the sky is completely invisible. Earth protects you with 2 shields you never see. A thick blanket of air and an invisible magnetic field. Together they bounce away most of the radiation pouring out of the sun and the deep cosmos. You spend your whole life at the bottom of that ocean of air, safe. The moon has neither. No air, no magnetic field, nothing. Cosmic rays and solar particles slam straight into the surface and into anyone standing on it. On a calm day, a short visit is survivable in a good suit, but the sun does not always stay calm. Sometimes it erupts. A solar flare blasts out a wave of charged particles strong enough to be a lethal dose with no shelter. This is exactly why the Apollo astronauts stayed for hours or days, never weeks. A few hours of careful exploring is a calculated risk. A permanent home would have to be buried under the dirt for shielding. They were lucky. No major flare hit the moon while anyone was standing on it. Future crews may not be. Quick gut check. Could you handle 2 weeks of daylight, knowing 1 solar flare could end you? Tell me in the comments. Now here is the twist. Ask people what would kill you on the moon, and they say the vacuum or the cold. They are wrong. The thing that quietly defeated NASA again and again was not any of those. It was dust, lunar dust. It sounds harmless. It is the most dangerous thing on the entire moon. Not because it's poisonous in the usual way, because of its shape and because it never ever stops. On Earth, dust is round and smooth. Wind and water have tumbled every grain for millions of years. The moon has no wind and no water, Nothing has ever smoothed its dust. Every grain was shattered by tiny meteorite strikes and frozen mid-break. It's like microscopic broken glass. On Earth, wind and rain would round it off in a week. On the Moon, it stays razor-sharp forever. And because the Moon is bathed in radiation, the dust holds a static charge. It clings to absolutely everything. The Apollo crews learned this the hard way. The dust got into everything. It chewed through suit seals. It scratched visors. It jammed the joints of their equipment. It was abrasive enough that engineers worried a long stay would simply grind the gear apart. Half a century later, keeping it out is still one of the biggest problems for any future moon base. But the worst part wasn't the equipment. It was what the dust did to the astronauts themselves. December 1972, Apollo 17, the last crewed mission to the Moon. Geologist Harrison Schmitt spent 3 days collecting rocks. The dust came back into the cabin, clinging to his suit. When he took off his helmet, he breathed it in, and almost instantly he started sneezing. His eyes watered, his throat went sore. The inside of his nose swelled up so much you could hear it in his voice. Oddly, by the 4th time he breathed it, the reaction faded, his body adjusting to a thing no human was built for. He had an allergic reaction to the Moon itself. NASA gave it a name, Lunar Hay Fever. Think about that. A trained astronaut on the most careful mission ever flown was brought low by sneezing. Now scale it up. A short visit gave him hay fever. What would months of breathing that glass do to your lungs? The grains are too sharp to clear out and too small to filter. They cut and scar the soft tissue inside. Mission data hinted that even a few days of exposure may have measurably hurt their lungs. This is why the Moon's most underrated danger isn't a sudden death. It's a slow one, breathed in 1 grain at a time. Every plan to live on the Moon must answer one question first. How do you keep this glass out of human lungs? Let's say you survive the air, the heat, the radiation, and the dust. Your own body still betrays you. The Moon's gravity is only 1/6 of Earth's. You would weigh about as much as a small dog. Lift a heavy rock and it feels like a pillow. Your strength suddenly feels superhuman. That sounds fun. It is for about a minute. Then it starts working against you. Walking doesn't work. Every step launches you off the ground before your other foot lands. The Apollo astronauts gave up walking entirely. They learned to hop across the surface like rabbits. Stopping is the hard part. With so little gravity, you keep drifting forward after you try to halt. And your inner ear, the part that tells you which way is up, gets confused. Falls come out of nowhere. The Apollo crews tipped over constantly, and getting up in a stiff suit was a clumsy struggle. A fall here is slow, almost graceful. But your suit is the only thing keeping you alive, and a hard landing can tear it. Over months, the low gravity also drains your bones and muscles, just as it does for astronauts in orbit. And then there's the sky again. Not the radiation this time, something solid. Space is full of tiny rocks called micrometeorites, most no bigger than a grain of sand. On Earth, they hit the air and burn up. Every shooting star you've ever wished on was one of them dying. The Moon has no air to burn them up, so they hit the ground at full speed, thousands of kilometers per hour, faster than a rifle bullet with no atmosphere to ever slow them down. Most are microscopic, but the Moon's whole surface is a graveyard of their craters, built over billions of years. Look closely at any Apollo photo, and the ground is pitted with tiny pockmarks, each one a frozen impact. One direct hit on your visor or your airline, and the suit that's keeping you alive becomes the thing that fails. It's a small risk in any single moment. But on the Moon, there is no atmosphere to ever lower it. So let's make this real. Forget the suit for a moment. Picture yourself standing out there, just you. Second one, the pressure is already gone. The air rushes out of your lungs whether you want it to or not. Hold your breath and you make it worse. The empty space in your chest would tear delicate tissue, so your body lets the air go. Second 5, the moisture on your tongue and your eyes begins to bubble. You feel a strange fizzing where there should be feeling. Above you, the sun is a blinding white point in a sky that is utterly, perfectly black. No blue, no glow. Your skin feels the sun's heat on one side and the deep cold of space on the other. At the very same instant, there is no sound at all. Not wind, not your own footsteps. The silence is total. Second 12, your vision narrows. The edges go grey. Your legs stop listening to you. Second 15, the last thought fades, and the Moon does not notice. It has been silent for 4 billion years. It will not remember you. It has watched stars wheel overhead since before there was life on Earth. No alarm sounds. No one comes running. The nearest human help is 384,000 kilometers away. That is what the moon does to an unprotected human in less time than it took to watch this sentence. And yet, 12 humans have stood on that surface and walked back to tell the story. They survived not by being tough, but by carrying a tiny piece of Earth with them. The suit held their air pressure so their blood would not bubble. It carried breathable air and it shaded and warmed them. July 1969, Apollo 11. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin become the first. Over the next 3 years, 5 more crews followed. They drove a rover, they collected rocks, they hopped like children. Every crew came home, every single time. 12 men walked there and 12 men walked back. December 1972, Apollo 17. Eugene Cernan climbs the ladder last. He looked back at his own footprints and said a few quiet words, then he left. Those footprints are still there right now. No wind to erase them. They could last 1,000,000 years. Since that day in 1972, not a single human has stood on the moon again. Now a new program called Artemis is preparing to send people back, this time to stay. This time with buried shelters, dust-proof airlocks, and everything 6 decades of hard lessons taught us. So why wouldn't you last a day on the moon? Because in 15 seconds the airless vacuum takes your breath. The temperature cooks and freezes you in the same hour. Invisible radiation pours from the sky with nothing to stop it, and the dust, that quiet grey dust, fills your lungs with glass. Your own weight betrays your steps, and the sky itself fires microscopic bullets that never miss the ground. 6 ways to die, on a world that has no idea you are even there. But here on Earth, none of that touches you. The air leans on your skin with a pressure you'll never feel. The temperature stays kind. The sky is soft and blue. Step outside and the wind moves. Birds make noise. The ground stays exactly where it should beneath your feet. And right now, without thinking about it, you're about to take another breath. 12 people once stood somewhere it was impossible. They needed a machine just to do the one thing you forget you're doing. So tonight, when the world feels heavy, remember the heaviness is gravity holding you to the only place that lets you breathe. We treat the moon as a peaceful light to wish on. It is one of the most hostile places a human will ever try to stand. Next time, what would actually happen if you tried to live on Mars? Until then, take a breath. You've earned it.